everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and in today's video I am starting a vlog. I'm doing things slightly differently, or at least that's the plan. Today's vlog is going to be focusing on sci-fi. One of my goals in 2025 was to read more sci-fi, but part of that goal is to figure out what I like about sci-fi. It's one of those genres that has so many subgenres that I want to explore and figure out what tropes am I drawn to, what subgenres am I drawn to, and kind of putting a pin in my sci-fi preferences. So I'm reading a bunch of different types of science fiction in this vlog. Something a little bit different about this vlog as well is I want to mix in a little bit of a different style. So I will be filming my reactions, book updates, kind of like I typically do. And then when I finish a book, I actually want to do a sit-down mini review of the book. The final reading update will be like an overall review, and I'll be sitting in my like formal sit-down video position in front of my shelves with the proper setup, just to mix it up, make some changes, make vlogs a little bit more interesting, at least maybe for me. That way, if you just want to go right to the reviews, you could do that. I'm not stopping you, but that way it's like a signal that this is the review portion for that book, and then there's a vlog portion for the book. Does that make sense? We're gonna try it out. Let me know what you think. The first book we're going to be talking about, I'm almost done with it already, and so I apologize, but I wanted to get this vlog going now, and I just really couldn't not talk about this one. I'm 85% done with The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. This is a zombie apocalypse novel, and it's very human in its storytelling. I don't want to give too much away, but just know this is the book I'm in the middle of, and I'm loving it. The other books for this vlog are The Fractured Dark by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is the second book in this trilogy. I'm blanking on the trilogy. The first book in this series is The Blighted Stars. That was the biggest brain fart. I literally had to look it up. This is like a sci-fi adventure space opera that has a great romance. And so it's almost a sci-fi romance, but more focused on the adventure. The romance is more of a B plot or a subplot. Then I have a horror book that I'm kind of lumping into sci-fi, The Haunting of Velkwood. Now this could be paranormal, I'm just not sure. Based on the synopsis, it's giving sci-fi vibes. So we're gonna try it, and if it doesn't fit in this video, I'll talk about it in a wrap-up instead. The last sci-fi book I have is Chain Gang All-Stars. This is a Hunger Games-like science fiction about basically gladiatorial fights for prison inmates to escape their sentences, or they have to win a certain number of fights before they are released from prison. So this is a commentary on the racism and the prison industrial complex and all of that. Welcome to the vlog. Hello, it's the end of my work day, and I managed to finish The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey, and let me give you a synopsis. So this is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi zombie book. I don't want to give too much away, but this follows multiple perspectives. We have a child main character, we have a motley crew of adult figures, and this is part survival story, part exploration of humanity. This book for me is hard to define a genre because it's science fiction, it's a zombie book, so it's got some horror elements, it's got some thriller, adventure, survival elements, so it's hard to narrow down exactly what this book is. At times it feels kind of literary in its writing and its exploration of the themes, you know, humanity, what does it mean to be human, and despair at the end of the world, and all these things. So I feel conflicted about my rating. Again, I just finished it, so it's hard. I haven't had any time away from the book. Overall, I'd say I really enjoyed my time reading it. There was a bit of a dip in the middle for me personally with the pacing. We start out in one location and then the main characters flee and they're out in the wild trying to survive, and that part kind of slowed down for me, but it definitely picks back up. I loved the philosophical nature of this book. It's hard to say I liked the horror elements, but I thought the horror elements were done to great effect. I guess I'll say it that way. The ending of this book is sad. I kind of feel like hollow and wrung out on the inside. I'm sitting at like a 4.25, 4 stars, somewhere in there. There's just something about it for me that didn't make it the perfect book. But I did enjoy it. I had a good time. I do recommend it. I will say, if you've played The Last of Us or seen the Last of Us TV show, there are a lot of parallels. And now I'm not saying that there's like copying going on, because these pieces of media came out at almost the exact same time and were worked on years previous. So I'm sure this is one of those like global zeitgeists that we, disparate parts of the world came up with the same or similar ideas. And there are elements of difference. I just want to point out that if you're a fan of one, you might like the other. The last thing I will say is this book had me fully engaged, which at this point in time is incredibly challenging. So the fact that I was fully invested in this story almost makes it a 5-star read for me, but there were just a few things that pulled me out or didn't quite work for me, which is why my rating is slightly lower. All right, my dogs are barking. I gotta be done with this clip. Moving on to the next book. Hello, my favorite corner of my house. I am home from work, but I thought I'd give you kind of first impressions and a synopsis of book 1 for The Fractured Dark. Book 1 is The Blighted Stars. So book 1 is conceptually about basically corporations run by families own everything and own all star travel, and they're kind of bent on mining particular resources across the galaxy. And book 1 ends up being kind of a survival story. One of the children of one of these very influential families is trapped on one of these planets, but there is a threat of this some kind of blight, which is what it's called, the blighted stars. There's some kind of gas or a blight that occurs that basically kills a whole planet, and it typically follows the mining operations. So like once you start mining on a planet, it will get this blight after that. The survival is like trying to get off this planet before anything happens. There's a lot of really cool sci-fi concepts in this story. Basically, you can upload your consciousness to the database, essentially the web, and if your body dies, you can get printed into a new body. So that's kind of an interesting, that the author plays with that concept quite a bit. The reason I liked book 1 so much is the survival elements. The politics got more and more complicated as the book went on, and the romance was very good. And without spoiling anything, the romance in book 2 so far is super angsty, and so I'm just eating it up. I really just barely scratched the surface of this book. I barely started it. But what I've read so far is very good. I'm really enjoying the romance and its progression in this one, and I can't wait to read more. Hello. I just wanted to pop into the vlog and let you know how I've been reading, how I've been liking what I'm reading, and kind of what I've been up to. And I was actually filming this morning, so I had quite a bit of that to do. I had to get ready, I did some chores, and while I was doing all those chores, I was listening away to The Fractured Dark, and I'm having a great time. I'm loving this book. The romance is so scrumptious. The plot is so engaging and really, really good. I'm like 65% in now at this point. I'm having a good time. I still think book one is a little stronger plot-wise because I think the survival element was so intriguing and interesting, but this plot in book two is still very good. It's still great. There's a lot of intrigue, there's some politicking, there's some dire consequences, the stakes are very high, and I can't wait to keep reading. And now I have to go to the grocery store. Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, and I didn't finish all my chores because my body betrayed me. But today is a new day. I'm actually thinking about taking PTO tomorrow to get everything done that I need to get done without my body betraying me. But today, we're gonna go to the hardware store and we're going to get some dirt and some seeds. And we're gonna do some starters. We're gonna do some tomatoes and peppers and a couple other things. And so why don't you come along with me, and I might do a sneaky bookstore run because March is my birthday month. And you know, I gotta do a little birthday shopping for me. But we'll see how much money I have left over after going to the hardware store. Seeds are not expensive, but dirt, weirdly, is kind of expensive. Also, a quick reading update. I'm reading The Haunting of Elkwood, and it is not really... I don't know if it really fits into this vlog. I was maybe towing the line, but... because it's mostly horror, I'd say. But even still, it's kind of boring. So I don't even know if I'm gonna finish it. But it's a little too soon to say. I might give it, you know, another reading session and then see how that goes. But I think I'm gonna skip straight to Chain Gang All-Stars for the purposes of this vlog. So that's where we're at with reading. Is it just me, or is it so easy to spend $100 at the hardware store with dirts and seeds? I did maybe get a sneaky pothos as well. It was only $4.99, okay? Oh, we did some damage. So my philosophy for buying books is I typically only buy books that I've read and loved and want a copy on my shelf because I have such a hard time with physical books. And also, if I buy a book and then I hate it, I feel like I've wasted my money. So that's kind of my philosophy. So all of these books I've read, with the exception of one. So first we have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This was a 4.5 out of 5 star contemporary romance. I loved it. I love getting it at discount price. Then we have The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. This is the only Bridgerton book that I love and enjoy. I actively do not recommend the book one because it has an assault in it, a sexual assault, and she does not apologize for that. So we like the second one though. And then Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I really like Alexis Hall. I should read more of their work, but this is a contemporary queer romance. And then in the fantasy realm, because, you know, of course I read romance and fantasy, we have The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Bielman. This was a 4-star read for me. I really liked this. It's a horror fantasy blend. Then we have the book I just finished, The Girl with All the Gifts. I found a used copy at my local used bookstore, and I really liked this a lot. I have mixed feelings about it, but it's still like a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I wanted a copy of it. And then the one book I haven't read is this copy of The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. This is the third book in the First Law trilogy, and I've only read the first one, but I loved book one in this series, and I couldn't say no to this really nice edition. So eventually I'll collect the other 2 books in the trilogy and maybe more Joe Abercrombie as I keep reading, but that was a series starter that I really, really loved. So I can anticipate that I will love book 3. So, and I couldn't say no. They only had book 3, but yeah, that's what I bought. I did not get that Jeff Vandermeer book because I did not like Annihilation, but that was a really pretty copy. So maybe I'll try to get that one from the library. I'm back home and now we can put these books away. And I forgot to mention, I got 6 books for $54. That's including tax. Heck yeah. Okay, so I took all the stickers off and my romance shelf is kind of a mess. So we're just gonna stick all these romances like up here. Try to slide them into this. Oh, too thick. Okay, well, yeah, this romance shelf needs obviously to be reconfigured, but I mean, I want to do a bookshelf reorganization in the spring anyway, so this is gonna change, but you know, those are the romances. For fantasy, guys, okay, so I typically sort my books by height and genre, so this is the fantasy shelves. We have some favorites. You see these ones all the time, but then down here we've got, these all are like books that are the same height. I don't think, yeah, Black Tongue Thief is too short. So let's actually go over here. Got a shelf over here, which, so this book is the same height as Lachlan's and the Tainted Cup. Okay, it does fit there. I just had to squeeze the books together a little bit. So, yeah, that feels good. It feels like it goes with these men authors. All right, so that's that one. Okay. Girl with All the Gifts is sci-fi, and so these are my like sci-fi shelves. So this sci-fi shelf, there's a tiny bit of room, but there is a new book coming out in this Lady Astronauts series, and so I can't really stuff Girl with All the Gifts in here. So we have this like kind of empty shelf right now that is like, these are poetry books and then like a couple of sci-fi hardcovers. So I guess I'll just kind of stick it here, but it is an Orbit book. I could put it by other Orbit books, couldn't I? But again, I think the shelf reorg will make a nice home for that. But there for now. And then the last Argument of Kings, technically I haven't read. So I'm gonna put this, oh, don't mind the clean clothes I need to fold. Part of the chores I didn't get done. So down here are books I haven't read, / those are on hauls, sneak peek. So technically it belongs here. As far as my hardware store a haul, I got 4 bags of seedling potting mix and 1 bag of all-purpose mix with compost in it. And here is the plant I was talking about. Don't show my husband. I got a little pothos. I have killed 3 pothos in my time, but I'm keeping my mom's pothos alive while they are in Florida, and I'm doing really well. So I feel confident, slightly more confident that I can keep this one alive. Pothos is supposed to be easy, and here I am killing 3 of them. And then for what I'm growing this year, I got so many seeds. So many seeds. So I want to grow sunflowers again. I grew sunflowers 2 years ago and really liked it. So I've got red ones. I've got mixed sunflowers. These ones are really pretty. I've got, I think these ones are dwarf. Yeah, dwarf sunflowers, which I thought could be fun, like small ones. And then of course I got some mammoth sunflowers as well. I want to also grow nasturtiums this year. So I always grow marigolds. I've got marigold seeds already. But I wanted to try nasturtiums as well. And so I got like a ton of variety. This one, and this one, and this one. So I got 3 kinds of nasturtiums. So I'm going to have like marigold, nasturtium, marigold, nasturtium. So those are the flowers. And then for veg, I've got carrots that are multicolored, and then regular carrots, red peppers, love peppers, these Space Master cucumbers. The vines only get like 2 feet long on this one. So last year, or 2 years ago, my cucumbers went crazy. So I'd like to keep them a little more contained. We also have Wonder Bell peppers, 2 kinds of peppers. 2 kinds of tomatoes. We got these super sweets, these little ones, and then these slightly bigger ones. These are brandy wines. Then we got Kentucky blue green beans. These are pretty tasty to me. And then I like snow peas a lot, so I'm gonna try growing them this year. So yeah, those are the seeds I bought. I'm gonna do starters of most of the veg except the carrots. Those I'm gonna plant directly in the ground, but I'm going to do starters for the rest of these and then see if my siblings want some, because I know my siblings like to have like garden pots on their patios too, so I like to share with them. And now I've got that like serotonin hit from spending money going shopping and buying things. So I feel great. I'm going to briefly wrap up The Fractured Dark by Megan E. O'Keefe, book 2 in this trilogy. This is my second trilogy by this author, and every single book of hers has been 4.5 or 5 stars, and this is no exception. This is a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. She writes very plot-forward, plot-driven sci-fi stories with incredible sci-fi concepts, and this trilogy in particular has an excellent romantic subplot. In fact, I'd say the romance is almost more of a main plot. Just like reflecting on the series, the romance is a very heavy hitter when it comes to the plot, and so I'm really loving this series. This was such a fun time. This is kind of a space opera, and I loved it. I had such a good time, and I cannot wait to read the 3rd book in the trilogy, which is out, and I'm on hold at the library, and so I'll see in a couple months when I get that book how the whole trilogy turns out. You remember where I put my unread books? This little cart. This is my mom's pothos, so that I've managed to keep alive. We're gonna stick my new guy right next to it and let it acclimate for a couple days, actually for a week, before repotting it into a nice pot. Here's the deal. I was planning on, so I took PTO Monday, which is today. I was planning on working on some videos, and then I was actually going to film this or edit this vlog. up until, you know, this point to see how long it is, because I feel like it's long. But I've edited 2 videos and it's taken me 4 hours with uploads and thumbnails, and now I have a headache. And I was also going to wrap up Chain Gang All-Stars because I was a bad vlogger and didn't give you any like mid-book updates, but I have a headache. So I did my nails yesterday. They're this nice purple color, which is fun, but yeah, so that's gonna have to wait. What I think I'm gonna do is, instead of adding a 4th book into this vlog, I feel like this is a long vlog as is, so we're just gonna call it after 3 sci-fi books. So once I wrap up Chain Gang All-Stars for you all, I will do a overall video wrap up as well. Sorry to disappoint from the intro. Hello, good morning. We're drinking out of this really cute mug today. It's one of my favorites. Second cup of coffee. I am finally ready to talk about Chain Gang All-Stars and to close out this vlog. It's been a couple days. I've just had a lot going on, and I've been deep diving into Stardew Valley because the new update is finally on the Switch, and that's where I have Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley aside, let's talk about Chain Gang All-Stars and what I thought of this book. So this one was a little bit tough for me. This is a story about that this relies really heavily on its theme, which is abolitionism, the abolishment of the prison system in the United States. And for books, there are other books like this that I gave very similar ratings. Books that are theme forward and the plot, the characters, the world building are kind of on the side or not as fleshed out, or just vehicles to get across the theme. And I can think of 2 books off the top of my head: Babel by R.F. Kuang and Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. All 3 of these books are very similar in that they are so theme forward that I was finding myself not wholly invested in the story and the characters. I agree with all 3 of these books and their messaging, so I agree with the author, but that doesn't mean I loved this story 100%. Still gave it a high 3.75 and rounded it up to 4 on Goodreads out of 5. So it was really solid. This is about basically imprisoned folk can sign a contract to become warriors in melee battles to the death, and if they survive in the ring for 3 years, they get to be free or pardoned for the crime that they committed. So we're following primarily Thurwar. Loretta Thurwar is our main character, and she is almost free. She has 2 weeks left before she is free, and we kind of follow her over those 2 weeks. But we also, this is a very fluid perspective. We get into the heads of a ton of different characters, and we're kind of bopping around in terms of timeline. And this also had moments of nonfiction. I was listening to this on audio, and there were moments where I'm 90% sure there were sources and statistics talking about real stats about imprisonment in the United States. And so at some points it read like a textbook to back up what it was saying. So I'm not the biggest fan of fluid perspectives. It just feels like we're kept at a distance from our main character. I really wanted more out of Loretta and her thoughts and feelings for longer, just to feel more connected to her story. But I did enjoy what the author did with her as a character and her character arc. This writing had true moments of brilliance. There were some really beautiful quotes in this writing. But again, that fluid storytelling style just isn't my favorite. So objectively, this is a really great book. Very similar to my feelings of Blood Over Bright Haven and Babel. But there were moments where I was bored with the story, especially in the middle. It's very slow paced and character driven. And so there were moments where I was like, okay, let's just get to the end a little bit in the middle chunk. But I will say the ending of this book, I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending wrecked me. I didn't realize how emotionally impactful that ending would be. It caught me off guard, considering how at a distance I felt from the rest of the narrative, and then all of a sudden the ending happens and I was like, oh, that's what we were doing the whole time. We were setting it up for this final moment. So like I said, high 3.75, if not 4-star rating. I did kind of enjoy this book. I appreciate this book for what it is, but it's not like an all-time favorite of mine. But I do find myself a couple days later thinking about this one. Not that this is a horror vlog, but I also finished The Haunting of Velkwood, and it is not sci-fi horror at all. So I wanted to mention it because I thought it might have been sci-fi horror, but it was definitely more paranormal. And it was a 3-star, in case you're curious, for me. So over the course of this vlog, I completed 3 sci-fi novels. The Girl with All the Gifts, and I actually found a copy of that, and I really liked it, 4.5 out of 5 stars. The Fractured Dark, which is the sequel to The Blighted Stars by Megan E. O'Keefe. I really liked that one. Again, a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then Chain Gang All-Stars, which was almost a 4-star read. So I liked pretty much everything I read this vlog. My favorite is probably The Fractured Dark. I think, based on just like this small sample size, I think space opera is still probably my favorite in terms of like space romp. I tend to like those books more, but the more literary dystopian sci-fi's also worked for me to some extent. So I'm still gonna keep reading sci-fi and kind of honing in on what I like about sci-fi, but I think this was a great little vlog, and I'm sure it's very not so little. But thank you so much if you stuck around to the end of this one. You're a real one, and I will see you in another video of mine very soon. Goodbye.